June 14, 1976, marked the final farewell to one of the most fascinating figures in the recent history of the Danish monarchy, Prince Knud, the uncle of the current Queen Margrethe II. For 2 decades, he lived estranged from the royal family and was deeply embittered by the approval of the 1953 Act of Succession, which effectively sidelined him from the throne destined for him at birth in 1900. At that time, the Danish dynasty, proud of its more than 1,000-year history and unbroken lineage, was undergoing a period of significant change. The Danes, tired of traditionally excluding women from the line of succession, demanded that Princess Margrethe be recognized as the legitimate heir, thereby moving Knud to the last position in the succession line. In a referendum held in May 1953, the public decisively voted for gender equality on the throne, and thus the first truly reigning Queen of Denmark in a century, Margrethe II, was born. This vote not only changed the role of women in the royal family, but also was a source of deep disappointment for Prince Knud. As the younger son of King Christian X and Queen Alexandrine, he grew up believing that he would eventually wear the crown. In fact, after his father's death in 1947, his brother, Frederick IX, ascended the throne, and it was no longer expected that he would have any sons, since he had 3 lovely daughters, Margrethe, Benedicta, and Anne Maria. According to the laws at the time, in the absence of a male heir, the crown would have passed to Prince Knud. Nothing seemed to prevent him from becoming the new ruler after Frederick's passing. Thus, in 1947, he was officially given the title heir apparent, placing him first in the line of succession. However, the Danes increasingly sympathized with the young and brilliant Princess Margrethe, the eldest daughter of Frederick IX and Queen Ingrid, whom they saw as a modernizing figure for the crown. Public pressure grew to such an extent that it eventually culminated in the 1953 referendum. This was a tense moment. As soon as the vote was concluded, the constitution was amended, the Act of Succession came into force, and little Margrethe stood on the verge of becoming the first reigning Queen of Denmark since Margrethe Valdemarsdatter, who in the Middle Ages nominally ruled on behalf of her son Olaf II. Knud had been married since 1933 to his first cousin, Princess Caroline Mathilde of Denmark, with whom he shared a very close kinship. They had 3 children, Princess Elisabeth, born in 1935, Prince Ingolf in 1940, and Prince Christian in 1942. The eldest son, Ingolf, was once destined to someday ascend the throne that his father had never managed to inherit. However, the reforms of 1953 called all these plans into question. Despite Knud retaining the title heir apparent, he was no longer to inherit anything. After the referendum, he found himself pushed to the 4th position in the line of succession, behind King Frederick's 3 daughters, and in the end reduced to the role of a secondary member of the royal family. This paradoxical situation, retaining the title of heir without the right to reign, created a rift between the 2 brothers. While Frederick and Ingrid appeared before the public as modern, progressive, and beloved rulers, Knud could not forgive Frederick until his death in January 1972. In the meantime, Princess Margrethe ascended the throne after her father's death and went down in history as the first queen with full powers in Denmark since the Middle Ages. The estrangement between Knud and his niece persisted. According to Prince Ingolf in a 2010 interview, his father remained embittered. Ingolf explained that the day after the referendum, he lost the chance to one day become monarch. His uncles, King Frederick and Queen Ingrid, continued to reign as symbols of a modern and progressive Denmark that had chosen a female ruler. In 1968, Prince Ingolf was stripped of the title His Royal Highness after marrying a commoner, officially becoming Count of Rosenborg. Nevertheless, Ingolf received an annual monetary compensation of 1.5 million Danish kroner, a kind of restitution for being excluded from the line of succession, and for everything that the legal reform had meant to him. After Knud's death in 1976, Count Rosenborg decided to reconcile with his cousin, Queen Margrethe II, motivated by the idea that past quarrels should not mar the relationships of the new generation. This step sparked a conflict with his mother, Princess Caroline Mathilde, who still harbored resentment over old family disputes, but in the later years of his life, Knud never managed to reconcile with his brother. The heir apparent without a throne lived until 1976. His wife, Caroline Mathilde, with whom he had actively participated in public life, representing the kings at countless official events, fell into a kind of withdrawal after becoming a widow. With declining health, she gradually retreated from public life, although by the time of her death in 1995, she had reconciled with Queen Ingrid. Meanwhile, Queen Margrethe II cemented her position as a key figure in European monarchy, admired for her personal style and becoming a symbol of openness and modernity. The history of Knud Christian Frederik is a chronicle of a man who dreamed of being king, but, paradoxically, remained merely the bearer of the title of heir apparent. Knud's legacy also illustrates how constitutional changes can completely alter the personal life and fate of those who once considered their path unchanged.